So today we are going to paint a little tiny still life of a cherry, and this is painted on linen panel, and it's a Raymar linen panel, and I just cut them to size. So I buy little antique frames, and then I cut the Raymar panels usually with a handsaw. The same thing I use for like a jeweler saw. So it's not very thick. I think it's like 1/8 of an inch or something like that. Pretty standard sizes, but they're very sturdy, and I love the texture that they give. They have just enough texture. Now I like the little bit finer grain. I think it's their portrait one, but they're all double prime and archival and all that good stuff. So to paint this, I start with a wash of cadmium yellow, and you'll have to excuse my pronunciations of some of these things. This is the third time I've recorded this, and each time I mispronounce things, so just go with it, please. So I start with a wash, and this is cadmium yellow deep, or I'm sorry, medium, and I'm just getting an overall look, overall shape, and just trying to make sure that everything's going to fit the composition. Now, whenever I record this, sometimes it cuts my my video. It crops it at sizes I don't want, so I'm trying to keep that in mind. But anyway, so overall, I'm finding the cadmium yellow deep or medium in this case suits very well to get a local color. And we know that the local color just means like whenever you see a lemon, you're like, oh, that's a yellow lemon. But if you look at it close, sometimes you'll see that there's, little bits of green in there, or tiny little bits of just orangey looking, depending on the lemon. And so you'll see different colors, but overall it's a yellow. We consider yellow to be the local color. So here I'm just trying to find the horizon line, or where my surface ends and my wall begins. And I'll have to, this is a very limited color painting. So I have cadmium yellow deep, or cadmium yellow medium, or I'm sorry, let me rewind. Cadmium red deep, cadmium red medium, transparent red oxide. I have ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow deep, and cadmium yellow, and then yellow ochre. And so, and white, titanium white. So that's about it. So there's no black. So even whenever you see the dark area, those darkest areas are just alizarin crimson. I use that a lot with transparent red oxide and ultramarine blue to make my darkest darks. I find that the transparent red oxide kind of mutes it a little bit, so it doesn't look so purple. Now, this is my favorite background color because I find it to be a more on the neutral side. And I get this by mixing yellow ochre, a tiny bit of transparent red oxide, ultramarine blue, and white. I don't know what this color is. I guess it's kind of seafoamy, kind of sagey. If you tell me what color you think this is, but I find it, like I said, it makes a beautiful background color because it's so neutral, because it's got the red from the transparent red oxide, it's got the yellow from the yellow ochre, and then it's got the blue from the ultramarine, and then the white kind of tones it down. So I find it a beautiful neutral or beautiful background color. So I tend to use this for my lighter ones. Sometimes I'll lighten this with, I'll make it a lot lighter, or a little bit more blue, or a little bit more yellow, depending on what my subject is. So in this case, my subject tends to be more on the red, so I want to go more on the yellow or the blue side to make my subject stand out. Like I said, this is the third time I've done this, so I might forget when I said what, but I'm hoping it's helping. So whenever you have a reflective item, I think whenever I did the painting on glass, I mentioned that your reflective items are going to reflect whatever's around it, whatever's below it, whatever's above it, any kind of light sources. So this white on that bottom, it's going to reflect onto the bottom of the cherry, so you'll see me paint that reflection later on. Also, some of the highlights, sometimes we'll see it and highlights are just white. I always like to put a tiny bit of blue or a tiny bit of lemon yellow onto my highlights. The blue kind of tones it down a little bit, and I use that usually on the area where there's going to be more, it's a little bit on the darker side. But the yellow is pretty much the brightest color, and so it'll make you a really, really bright highlight without it looking so chalky from the titanium white. So I add that, so it really brightens your highlights. Now, I noticed that it doesn't show that on the video, but yeah, it just has a tinge of yellow, and you can see it more in person than you can on the video. Now, even for my greens, I use ultramarine blue and cadmium yellow, and I add a tiny bit of where I want to brighten it or lighten it. I add a little bit of yellow ochre. Where I want to darken it, then I add transparent red oxide. I have a video that says my general color palette. This, like I said, I just put the colors that I thought I'd use for this. Now, as I've explained before, usually my first sitting goes a little bit faster, and then I'll come back and fix up anything that I see that needs done, do the highlights better, but I also like to blur my edges. I don't like very solid edges. I think it makes it look a little bit more cartoony. We really don't see that way. We don't tend to see it in sharp edges. So I just soften that. Now, whenever I was painting the cherry at the bottom, I'll do the area that's lighter. So let's say my lightest area on there was cadmium yellow or cadmium red medium with a little bit of yellow. And then the bottom would be that ultramarine blue with alizarin crimson. Well, I'll do that and I'll have it kind of meet, and then I'll take a dry brush and blend in that middle area without having to mix that middle area. Mix it separately. I can just mix it on the painting by kind of blurring out the edges of the two together. I'll explain that later on. I should have explained it whenever I was doing it, but like I said, this is the third time, so. Well, that's about it for this little painting. I hope that it helps. Like I said, if you can think of what that color is, let me know. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I'd love to do more videos like this, and the more you all interact with them, the better it is, you know, the easier it is for me to see like there's a need for it, and or you know there's a desire for it, and so I'll definitely do more. Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of it and have a wonderful day.